Hello, guys. Welcome back to Faith Movies. Today's movie recap will be a drama and faith movie from 2013 called On a Wing and a Prayer. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. The movie begins with Doug and his brother Jeff having a flight training session. Jeff mocks Doug for not being able to fly and land the plane properly. After they finally land, we see that the brothers are very close and fond of each other. Doug's wife is Terry, and the brothers seem to get along very well. They even won a cooking competition together. Jeff has a well-mannered daughter named Bailey, but Doug's daughter, Maggie, is very rude and disrespectful, which is becoming a concern for Doug and his wife. Everyone in the family seems happy, except Maggie. The scene shifts to a man named Dan Favio, an air traffic controller. He manages the takeoffs and landings of planes in the area. One night, Doug receives a call informing him that his brother, Jeff, has just died. Doug finds it unbelievable as he was with his brother the previous day. This news devastates Doug to the point that he is unable to speak at his brother's funeral. He seems angry at God for allowing his brother to die. In another city in Connecticut, Carrie, a former pilot, is having issues with his girlfriend. They frequently have misunderstandings because Carrie is unwilling to open up about the things that are troubling him. Carrie lost his family in a plane crash and has not been able to forgive himself for being unable to save them. We also meet Donna, a young aviation enthusiast. Although Donna is just a kid, she is very interested in planes and flight simulations in her room. She is determined to become a pilot one day, even though her teacher doesn't believe she can do it. To clear their minds after their loss, Doug and his family decide to go on vacation using a private jet. The pilot, Joe, takes them on the flight. Once aboard the plane, Maggie still struggles to get along with her cousin, Bailey. While preparing for takeoff, the pilot shows Doug a few things about the plane, and they finally lift off. The plane is connected to the Miami Air Traffic Control Center. Everything seems to be going well until Joe starts feeling uneasy in the plane. Doug turns and suddenly realizes that the pilot is unconscious. He tries to wake him, but it's no use. It dawns on him that he now has to fly the plane. Doug tries to stay calm and avoid alarming the others. He immediately contacts the Miami Control Center and explains his situation. Terry, however, begins to suspect something, so she goes to the cockpit only to find the pilot lying unconscious. They drag the pilot out of the seat and Terry takes his place. While moving the unconscious pilot, the plane nosedives, but they manage to stabilize it. Doug and Terry realize they are in serious trouble. Doug contacts the control center again, explaining that he needs help because he doesn't know what to do. The officers at the control center call Lisa Grimm, an experienced air traffic controller, to assist. Doug and Terry try looking at the plane's manual to get some information, but the manual doesn't seem very helpful under pressure. Doug notices that the plane keeps climbing and going higher. The Miami air traffic officers contact another control center, the Fort Myer Control Center, to see if they can assist. Meanwhile, Donna, whose father is also a pilot, somehow connects to the radio frequency of the Miami Air Traffic Center. Apparently, her dad taught her how to track him during his flights. Donna becomes interested after hearing Doug say that the pilot is unconscious, and she calls her friend to listen as well. Back on the plane, Doug is instructed to turn off autopilot and keep the plane steady. They are told to start descending gradually to increase their chances of survival. However, the plane is moving very fast and has entered another airspace, forcing the Miami Control Center to hand them over to the Fort Myer Control Center. At the Fort Myer Control Center, no one seems to have experience flying the type of plane Doug and his family are on, the King Air. The only person with just 500 hours of flight experience is Brian, who is about to leave for the day. Fortunately, the control center supervisor rushes outside to catch him. Brian agrees to help, and they rush back in to start working. Meanwhile, Donna and her friend, who have been tracking the flight, realize that Doug's plane is being directed towards the sea. Brian begins assisting, and Favio, who also works at the Fort Myer Control Center, runs out to call a friend. Even though it's illegal to make a personal call in the control center, Favio calls his friend Carrie, the only person with experience flying the King Air. At first, Carrie refuses to answer, but his girlfriend picks up the call and hands it to him. Favio finally gets a chance to explain the situation. Carrie only starts listening when he learns that the pilot is dead and that there's a high chance the plane will crash if he doesn't intervene. Carrie remembered how he lost his family in a plane crash and finally agrees to help. He and his girlfriend start setting up everything they need to assist Doug's family. Meanwhile, in the plane, Bailey has a seizure, and Maggie quickly rushes to give her insulin. Donna and her friend realize that the Miami Control Center is lying to Doug. They are leading him toward the sea to crash there in order to avoid the casualties that could result from him landing in a residential area. After this, the Miami Center finally hands Doug over to the Fort Myer Control Center. Fabio relays the phone call to the supervisor and Brian. At first, they refuse to help, but they change their minds when they learn about his level of experience. Meanwhile, Maggie successfully revives Bailey. Carrie gives instructions over the phone, which Brian then passes on to Doug. However, Doug seems to be flying directly into a storm. Carrie instructs them to tell Doug to turn the plane, and Doug successfully does so, but the storm seems to be gaining on them. They find a landing spot, but Doug is unable to land as the strong winds keep deflecting him from the runway. To avoid crashing, Doug is forced to lift off and go around again. Unfortunately, Fabio's phone dies and Carrie is no longer able to give them further instructions. Doug approaches the heavy storm and struggles to stabilize the plane, becoming increasingly exhausted as the storm continues to grow stronger. However, Carrie's girlfriend comes up with an idea and decides to search the Flight Association database to get the number of the late pilot. She finds the pilot's number and calls it. Fortunately, Maggie, who is sitting near the deceased pilot, answers the call and hands the phone to Doug. They are surprised at how she managed to contact them, but that's not their main concern at the moment. Carrie is excited to reconnect with them and begins giving Doug instructions, even as the storm intensifies. Carrie tells Doug that while he wasn't able to save his own family, he will do his best to ensure they land safely. Finally, they emerge from the storm and approach the landing area again. By this time, various emergency teams, including the fire department, are already on standby waiting for them. Donna and her friends sneak into the airport to witness what's happening. As Doug approaches the runway, Carrie gives him the final instructions to land the plane. While preparing for landing, Carrie goes to pray with the girls while Doug continues his descent. Doug struggles to stabilize the plane, but following Carrie's guidance, he finally lands it safely. The entire team is overjoyed to see the plane land. Terry and the girls are relieved and excited that the ordeal is over. Doug quickly says a prayer to thank God. Donna and her friend are thrilled that the plane landed safely. Fabio rushes down to the runway to congratulate them. Carrie calls again to confirm that they landed safely, and after this experience, the couple is reunited. In the aftermath, Fabio, who expected to be fired for breaking federal law by bringing his phone into the control center, actually gets promoted. As the movie ends, we see Doug regularly visiting the late pilot's grave. He also receives many invitations to share his story. The family becomes more united than ever, with both Maggie and Bailey excelling in their chosen careers. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe. Your support is appreciated. Remember, Jesus loves you. Have a blessed day, and see you next time.